If choosing curriculum feels overwhelming, you are absolutely not alone. A lot of people are in your shoes. I remember when I was starting out and I felt overwhelmed by all the curriculum choices out there. Uh, the problem is most parents buy a lot of curriculum, go through a lot of options, nothing works, they get discouraged. They just spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and they still feel unsure. So the problem is not the curriculum. The problem is choosing a curriculum that doesn't match your child. So most people ask, what's the best curriculum for math, for writing, for reading? But that's the wrong question. The better question is, how does my child learn best? Okay. So if you can ask yourself that question, switch the frame of reference from one question to another, you're going to be in a much better spot. The better question is, how does my child learn best? Because once you know that, then you can eliminate most options instantly. There are four types of learners, and I'm sure you've heard of learners who are visual, auditive, kinesthetic. We're going to push that framework to the side, and I will explain why later. My framework that I would like to present to you has four learner types. One is structured, one is independent, one is creative, and one is hands-on. So the reason why I came up with this, and it's in the literature of education from several researchers, is because most curriculum is going to be visual. Most curriculum, you can make it into audio, right? So it can work for an auditive child. Most curriculum can be translated into hands-on. So it doesn't really help you if you say, oh, my child is visual, my child is auditory, or my child is kinesthetic. It doesn't really help you with curriculum per se, because homeschool moms, we are all so creative, right? We can take a piece of paper and make it into all kinds of things and games and music and reading list. And we're so creative, we can pretty much change any curriculum into something else. And so that's why when I come up with this framework and I say to you, is your child structured, or are they independent, or are they hands-on, or are they creative? Then you know your child. So I'm going to give you some characteristics. And as you start building an image of what your child is like, then you'll be able to quickly identify curriculum that would fit your child. So a structured child will need clear steps and routine. If you have a child that is waiting for you to tell them what to do, that's a structured child. Their mind is organized and they're waiting and they enjoy routine. If you have a child that works alone and is self-paced, that's an independent child. If you have somebody that needs movement and activity and they can't sit still, that is a very hands-on child. And then, of course, you've got the one that thrives on stories and discussion, and they come up with their own stories. That is a creative child. I'll give you one example. I was in a business seminar with adults, and the lady who was presenting put a little container of putty in front of every seat on the table in front of us. We walk in, we put our things down on the table, and she goes, hello, she's introducing herself. Then she finally starts the seminar and she goes, I already know who you are from the way you interacted with the putty I put in front of your seat. Some of you came in, saw it, didn't touch it. You were waiting for instructions. If you think your child would come in, and I'm not talking about really young children, okay? Really young children, they're all just kind of, they're going to touch everything. They're going to interact with the world in a in a very similar way. But think about an older child, maybe like from age 6 or 7 on, okay? I'm not talking kindergarten and preschool. We're talking a bit older. Is your child going to leave the potty alone? Is your child going to sit there and look at the potty and wonder and wait for instruction? Then that's a structured child. That's a structured learner. If your child is independent, that means they work alone, they're self-starters, they're self-paced. They came in, they looked at it, they realized, okay, this is put in front of my seat. I'm going to take it. They took the potty out and they just started doing things with it. Or even if they're just sitting there mashing it, that's an independent child. They don't need you to tell them or to give them permission. A hands-on child needs movement even more, needs activity. They probably took it, they probably walked somewhere else where they knew they had more putty, they put it together, they started mixing it. That is a hands-on child that will go beyond what is provided with movement and activity. And then you got a creative child that's taken the putty out of the container and has already built 1 or 2 figurines. He already has a story. He already has maybe a piece of furniture, and the figurine number 1 is doing something, and figurine number 2. By the time you tell them what to do with that putty, this child has already built a story in their mind. Okay, so you know your child from the story I just told you. Did you already feel like, oh yeah, that's Freddie. Oh yeah, that's Johnny. Oh yeah, that's Sarah. Did you recognize your child from what I gave you? Because if you already know that sounds like my child, then you're 90% there in choosing curriculum. Why? Because the question is always, what does my child learn like? What is his learner type? Once you have that, you're fine. So here's the application. A structured child will struggle with open-ended programs. An independent child may resist constant teaching. Do you have a child you're trying to teach and they just resist you? They just talk over you. They just start on a different tangent. That is an independent child. They want to do their own thing and they will resist you. A hands-on child will not thrive on worksheets alone. You're gonna give them a worksheet and this child will be like, but where's the teddy bear? But where's the train set? Where's the. A creative child will not appreciate a rigid structure and a rigid routine, and they will actually shut down. Some of these kids will shut down. So if you have the wrong curriculum, you will know that it doesn't match your child because they will shut down and you will not be able to do any kind of teaching. And sometimes they shut down with silence, and sometimes they shut down with screaming or with just a complete meltdown. Hopefully you won't have to deal with extreme situations, but that's why curriculum works for some kids and it doesn't work for others. So if you have your child in mind, all you have to do is watch some of my videos. I have a playlist that has full curriculum reviews or side-by-side comparisons in math and writing and history and so on. I've created these videos comparing real curriculum options so you can choose with confidence.